Hi everybody, it's Laurie with Live Inspired. Over the next few weeks, I am going to be doing a series on working with your mind. And what I'm going to be doing is sharing with you some techniques and ways that I have come up with and things that I have used that have helped me to essentially have a better relationship with my mind, to help me to be able to learn how to use my mind so that it works for me and not against me. You may have heard it said that the mind is an excellent servant and a terrible master, and I have to tell you that in my experience that is very, very true. So what I want to do is give you some things that I have learned over the years that have helped me to be able to make sure that my mind is working for my highest good and for my best interest instead of working against me. So this first video is on changing your mind, and what I mean by that is learning how to use your mind to be able to change it in a situation to where the way you're thinking is not going to benefit you to get you through an experience or a relationship or a situation. So I want to tell you a little story. Some years ago, I had a frozen shoulder. And if you don't know what that is, it's also known as adhesive capsulitis. And what it means is that I had limited, and in my case, virtually no range of motion in my shoulder, whatever. I just woke up one day and it was just gone, and we didn't know why. So in the process of trying to figure out how to repair this situation, I went and had an MRI done. And at some point, I'll probably tell you what I actually ended up doing in the end to completely alleviate myself from this with some healing techniques that worked for that. But right now I want to talk to you about going to get an MRI while we were still trying to figure out what we might be able to do medically to resolve this situation. And I think I had an MRI back when I was a little kid, but I was really, really young and I really didn't remember much about it. So I was on my lunch hour. I went to go have this MRI done, and I wanted to get in and get out because I wanted to do it under an hour if possible and get back to my job at work so I could accomplish some things that I had on my plate to do that day. And so I get there and I sit down, and the technician comes over to me and he sits down next to me, and he begins to speak to me in this very even and soft tone, almost like a therapist or a counselor. And he starts telling me about the whole process and what's going to happen and what we're going to do. And I'm sort of tuning him out because I'm like, why are we talking about all this? Let's just get the procedure done and get it over with. And he's being very methodical about telling me I will be right here in the room if you need me. You just have to let me know, et cetera, et cetera. And I was actually getting a little irritated with him. So after he finishes his spiel, he takes me over to the table. And when you do an MRI, essentially you lie down on this particular machine that I was using anyway. You lie down on the flat bed and they push you back in underneath this sort of hooded apparatus that you go under, and it goes around you and it's behind you and it's open in the end so they can move you in and out of it. So I walk over, I get on the flatbed, he begins to push me underneath this apparatus, and I immediately notice that I'm reaching, because he had not yet given me the panic button, but I noticed that I was instinctively like reaching for it to make sure that I had it. And I just became aware, and I went, well, that's really interesting. And then the further he pushed me into that thing, the greater and greater my anxiety began to rise. And I said it, I was surprised actually by this, but I think, something really set in, that like fear just overtook me in this thing. And the thing is pretty close in, like it goes around your head and around your sides, all on sides and all the way down, right about to your waist, I think, or maybe a little bit past your waist. And I think the technician probably got all the way to his booth to begin the procedure. I think he got all the way to his booth, and I hit that panic button like hard because I did not want to stay in there another second. And he comes out, he wheels me back out, and he says, "How was that?" And I said, "That was like being in a coffin. Like a coffin." And he shakes his head. He was like, "Yeah." I said, "Hey, is there any other way we can do this? Like, is there another alternative to this particular method?" And he goes, "Well," he said, "yeah, there's a couple things we can do." He said, "What you can do is we have a bigger machine that has more space or more room in it, so your claustrophobia might not, set in quite so much in this particular machine if you want to use that one." He says, "But it's not available today. So what you'll have to do is call and make another appointment." Well, it had taken me a month and a half to get this appointment done. So I really wasn't all that keen on waiting another month and a half to try to figure out how we were going to resolve this shoulder issue. So he goes, well, the other thing you can do, he said, of course, this is still going to require that you make another appointment. We can call your doctor. They can prescribe you some Valium. You can take that. You'll be far more relaxed, and this can go better for you. And I thought, okay, well, that's not, first of all, I still don't want to wait another month and a half. And I'm not really huge on sedated medications. Like, I don't really do well on those. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of pharmaceuticals anyway, but when it comes to those, I just don't do well. So that didn't sound like a good option either. So I looked at him. I said, okay. I said, give me 5 minutes. I just need to change my mind. He says, all right. He walks away. And I'm going to share with you what I did in that 5-minute period to prepare myself to be able to have this experience and get this MRI done so I could get back on with my day. So I call it 3 A's. And the first A is acknowledgement. The first thing I had to do was acknowledge my situation. I'm here. I don't want to do this, but it's going to be in my best interest to get this done. So I acknowledge I'm afraid. I don't want to do this because I'm fearful of this situation. And the next thing you do, once you've acknowledged whatever it is that you're feeling, whether it's anger, fear, frustration, whatever it is, you acknowledge that. Then the next thing you want to do is analyze that. Analyze that in the sense that you're going to go, so is this fear, in my case, legitimate? I want to share with you a line from a movie that I really, really like. The name of the movie is called After Earth, and it's with Will Smith and his son, Jaden. And this movie didn't get a whole lot of press, I don't think, because I don't remember it. But I found the Blu-ray, and I watched it, and I really like this movie. One of the things that it talks about is fear. And so in this particular movie, Will and his son are in dire straits, and it's left up to his son to help them get out of the situation, but his son is dealing with a particular fear. And so he's going to have to overcome this fear in order to allow them to get out of their situation and to continue to live. So Will says to his son regarding this fear, he says, son, he says, fear is an illusion. It's just not real. He said, don't misunderstand me. Danger? Oh, danger is very real. But fear is a choice. And I love that line because it's so applicable. And I called upon that line in this situation by asking myself this question, am I really in danger? You see, fear is a great thing because the point of fear is to protect us. It lets us know something's not right. But what we want to be able to determine at a conscious level, because if we're not bringing that into our consciousness, we are reacting unconsciously in the way that I was doing in this situation, right? I panicked and I pressed this button. My unconscious mind said, we need to get out of here. Once I can bring that into my conscious awareness, I can now make a conscious choice about what I do with it. Even if I am in danger, this is a much better place to be than to be operating out of an unconscious space of fear. So what we can do when we are feeling fear is evaluate the situation and say, am I in danger or am I just feeling fearful in this situation? Is there something rising up in my subconscious mind that is causing me to react in a way that may not be in my best interest? I don't really need to know what was going on in my subconscious mind or why this fear was arising. I just need to be able to acknowledge it and recognize it and analyze whether or not it's real, right? And in my case, it was not. This was not a coffin. I was not dead. I was not going to die. I just needed to be in there for 30 minutes and I was going to go on with the rest of my life and hopefully figure out how to fix a problem that I really wanted to resolve. So when I was able to reach that place of acknowledging and then of analyzing, and the third and last one is agree, to come into agreement. So what does it mean to agree? Well, agreement means to come into harmony with or to come into alignment with. And we're coming into harmony and alignment with what's in our best interest and what is in our highest good. So if I'm experiencing a fear that is stopping me from doing something that's going to be in my best interest, once I bring that into my conscious awareness, I can now agree that I'm going to go ahead and go through with whatever this thing is so that I can move on with what's best for me and get on with my life. And so that's what I did. Now, I want to tell you that you can also use this with your healing work, or if you're going through some healing work of your own, whether it's energy work or counseling or whatever. A lot of the time when I'm working with a client, I will notice that they are holding on to something in particular. And it would be unethical of me and inappropriate of me to remove that from their energy plane or their energy space if they're not ready for that to be removed, or if they're unaware of it. They might be keeping it for some reason that really is beneficial to them at some level. So what I will do is I will first ask them, hey, during the session or afterwards, depending on whichever is appropriate, I noticed that you were holding on to this fear. I noticed that you were holding on to this grief. I noticed that you're holding on to this whatever. And I'll bring it into their acknowledgement, into their awareness. And I'll have them acknowledge that. And they'll go, yeah, I am. And I'll say, okay. I said, do you want to release that? You know, is it serving you? Is it in your best interest to keep hanging on to that? Now we're analyzing it. And if their answer is, you know what, I know it's not. It's not. I've just been holding on to it. Then we'll come to a space of agreement. I'll say, okay, are you all right with me moving that out of your space? And their agreement is, more often than not, yes, you can move that out of my space. And now we're working together to allow them to be able to release that and go on and do what's in their highest good, and maybe the highest good of those around them in their life. So this is a technique that I've used, the 3 A's. You want to acknowledge, you want to analyze, and you want to agree. And then when you do that, you can release that and let it go. So the end of my story is this. I told the guy after about 5 minutes probably, okay, I'm ready. He comes back, he says, all right, you ready to do this? And I'm ready to go. He rolls me back underneath. And for a split second, my mind started to go back to that anxiety. And I said, no, we've already decided, we've already agreed that we're going to do this for the next 30 minutes and we're going to be fine. He pushed me back in and I began to focus on my breathing. I begin to breathe in and breathe out and focus on my breath. Now, why do I do that? Because focusing on your breath is one of the easiest and quickest ways to bring yourself into present moment in your experience. Why do you want to do that? Because when you are in present moment, it puts you in the presence of divinity, of your divine highest self. And it is in that space that you're able to operate from the things that are in your highest good. You're able to operate from the essence and trueness of who you really are, which is not fear, which is actually love. So self-love allows me to do what's in my best interest to get myself through this situation. And I focused on my breathing. I got through it. Everything was fine. And the technician came out and he rolls me out and he said, I got to tell you. He said, I just want to thank you. This is awesome. He said, I don't think I've ever gotten as good of pictures as I've gotten with you today. He said, I have never had anyone be so still on the table for an MRI as you were today. And I attribute that to the 3 A's that I use in my ability to change my mind so that I could help my brain work for me and not against me. So that is what I want to talk to you about in this video. The next one I'm going to do is going to be on slowing down your mind and why you want to learn how to do that, how you can do it, some techniques you can use to help you, and why it's going to be beneficial for you to want to learn how to do that. So until then, may you have a wonderful day, evening, week, month, whatever. Well, it's not going to be a month. I'll see you in a week. But may you have a wonderful day or evening. And of course, may you ever live inspired. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.